compass, and I'm going to explain how to use the compass up on the screen here. So your compass has this little dial in the middle, okay, or this bar that the dial's on. You can either turn on one end of the bar, or you can just turn the dial, and you'll notice the compass opens. Okay, you can hold it up here wherever you want. So you twist to open and close your compass. Okay, there's two ends to your compass. There's this pointed end. Okay, it is sharp. Be careful, don't hurt yourself. Okay, it's sharp so that it will stay in place. Okay, you're going to put it on a point and you don't want it to slide or move around. That's why it is pointed like this. You can come grab a compass back here in the notes. Okay, the other end has a pencil lead. Okay, these little screws on here, don't loosen them. Make sure they're tight. Okay, because if you loosen them, your lead may come out. So in there, grab a compass, and then on the top left. Yep. Okay. All right, you're all good. All right, so everybody's compass should look like this. Is everybody good? You got a compass? You have a pointed end, you have a lead end. Okay, and you open and close it with this dial. Now, yeah. That depends on what we're doing, so we'll get there. Okay, there's not a set width that needs to be right now. Okay, we'll adjust it for each problem that we do. Now, just play around with it, make sure you can open and close it. What do y'all think would happen? Let's say I have a point on my paper, okay, and I put this pointed end on this point, okay. What's going to happen if I rotate this compass around that point? What am I going to create? I'm going to create a circle. And you, oh, I already moved my point. Okay, make sure you keep your point on there. Let me erase because I already messed up. Okay, so you got to hold the point end steady. Okay, some people actually prefer to move their paper. Okay, so if you want to move your paper, it's easier and it creates a perfect circle, right? Or you can turn the compass if you prefer to turn the compass. Okay, we are not going to have to draw full circles for what we're doing today. We just need to be able to draw arcs. So when I say an arc, let's say I have a point. Okay, I put this pointed end on there. Okay, let me get this on the screen better. Which way? This way. Okay, and I may just need to do a little arc like this, just a little arc of a circle, not a full circle. Okay, but I want you to understand that if you did keep going around, you would create a full circle, and it doesn't, if I put a point anywhere on this arc, isn't it the same distance from that point in the middle? It doesn't matter where on the arc, because what is that distance? What's that called? From the center of the circle to any point on the edge. That's the radius. So it doesn't matter where on your arc you put a point. Okay, when you connect these, they're the same distance because it's just the radius of the circle. Does everybody understand how a compass works? Okay, so let's actually get into the notes then. Okay, so I'm going to turn this camera off and I'm going to go to our notes page. I don't know who named it.
There's something already called a compass.
Oh,
Like
I would have to look it up. Okay, you can tighten it like that.
It's spelled different.
You can bring it over here. I'll try. Or here, just come trade me. I'll give you this one. No, it's spelled the same. That's fine. Yes. Okay. All right. So we are going to use our compass and a straight edge. So you can use like the straight edge of a protractor or ruler or any sort of straight edge that you have is fine. Okay. To create these three different constructions today. Okay. We want to do the create a segment congruent to a given segment. This is going to be the first one we do, and it's the easiest. And then we're going to look at perpendicular bisectors of a line segment and bisecting an angle. So so angle bisectors. Okay, so these are the three we're going to try to get through today. So if you flip to your first page, okay, this one is the segment congruent to a given line segment. Okay, the instructions are written out, the steps are numbered. Okay, so steps 1 through 5 here, and they've got a little graphic of the process next to it. I know some people can read that and understand it immediately. Some people need to see it in action. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to walk you through this process that you read here. So if you start with a given segment PQ, you want to make a copy of it. You want a segment that's exactly the same length. So we can use our compass to do that. You would put the pointed end of your compass on one of your endpoints. It doesn't matter which one. Okay, so put the pointed end on one end, and then you make the compass the width so that you can get the lead end of your compass on the other end point. Okay, so that's how wide you need to open your compass so that the pencil is on one end point and the point is on the other end point. Okay? These are not weapons. Don't hit or poke each other. The rulers and protractors aren't weapons either.
Yeah. Duh.
All right, does everybody set their compass to the right size? Once you have your compass set to the right size, that's actually step 3, is set the compass and get the correct radius. And that's what this picture is. It's a compass set to the width of this segment. You need a point, a starting point. So they drew point, they called it R. So they drew a point and labeled it R. You can, when we're doing this, we can name our points whatever we want. So they had P, Q. So now they're going to create, and they use R as their starting point. So now they set the compass point end, the point end of the compass on their, and now that I have it up, I had to have it upside down so it would fit on the page a second ago. But now they'll put the point end of the compass on that point R that they drew. Okay. And then you are not changing the size of the compass. The compass is the size you set it to. Do not adjust it. Okay. And then you will draw an arc. See, they drew an arc. Okay. Just a little piece of a circle. Then they put a point on that. They called theirs point S. And it can be anywhere on the arc. They happen to draw theirs horizontal, so it looks parallel to the given segment, but it doesn't have to be parallel. Okay, you could have drawn your arc straight up or at an angle or below. Okay, but wherever you drew that arc, you put a point somewhere on that arc and name it, and then you use a straight edge, so your protractor edge or your ruler edge, and you connect those 2 points, and that segment RS is congruent to, it's the exact same length as PQ, the given segment that we started with. Okay, so I could write a congruence statement. I could put congruence markings on here. So remember the congruence markings? We said you could have a tick mark to show congruence. So I could put matching number of tick marks on those segments to show those are congruent. I could write a congruent statement that says segment PQ is congruent to segment RS. They are the same length. They are equivalent measures. That means congruent. How do y'all feel about that? Okay, I'm going to do one of these at the bottom with you, okay? And then you're going to try the other 3. Okay, so I'll start with A. I'm going to put my pointed end of my compass on one end. And if you prefer to have points, go ahead and draw like a dot. Draw endpoints if you want endpoints. That's fine. You don't have to have endpoints, but you can draw them if you like to. So I'm going to put that on the end point. And then I'm going to adjust my compass width. Right now it's too wide, so I need to adjust the width so that the lead is on the other end point. So adjust your compass radius. You can do an entire circle. It's just going to get a little crowded on your paper probably, and stuff will end up overlapping. All right, so now I'm going to put a new point somewhere below or around this, and you can name your starting point whatever you want. I'm going to call mine S. I like to use my initials, so I'm going to use S for Sarah, and then when I draw my other one, I'm going to do F for file. Okay, so now that the compass is set to the right width, I'm going to move it to put that on this new point that I created. And then I can draw an arc. So here's what I'm talking about. You could draw your arc. Oh, undo. You can draw your arc to the side here. And so it would be like somewhat parallel to the original one. Or you could draw it down below. Okay, I could rotate this and I could draw my arc down here and I could draw the line vertical, or I could do it up here and I could put an arc up here and I could do my segment vertical. It does not matter. The direction doesn't matter. Okay, so if I draw an arc up here, that's okay too. Okay, so now somewhere, wherever you drew your arc, you're going to put a point. So I'm going to put mine on this one up here. So I'm going to put a point somewhere on that arc and name it. Okay, you can't use the same letter twice in one problem. So you can't use A or B again. Those were already used. Now I'm going to take my straight edge, my ruler or protractor, whatever it is, line those points up and draw a straight segment between them. Now we don't have like a ruler or something, but if you wanted to actually measure it, you could, just to confirm that these are indeed congruent. How do I rotate this? Rotate.
Just cut my paper.
Like cut your paper? Sorry. There we go. Okay, so that segment AB, it looks like it was right at 4 centimeters. So if I came over here, I could measure and I could see, look, that was 4 centimeters also. So I'm just showing, you do not have to measure these to confirm. I'm just showing you that it works, okay? These are congruent segments that I've drawn. So what I can do is I can label them as congruent with tick marks. So I could put 2 tick marks on each, or 1 tick mark on each, or 3 tick marks on each. Remember, it doesn't matter how many you use as long as they're the same. And I could write a congruence statement. I could say that segment AB is congruent to segment SF, or whatever you named yours. We feel okay about this? All right, so you've got the steps written in words. I've walked through this one with you. Now I want you to try the others if you haven't already. Some of you are moving ahead, I noticed. That's fine. Okay, but if you haven't tried the others, try the others. Okay, you should be able to create congruent segments to all of these. Okay, and again, you can draw them parallel to the given one. You could draw them at an angle. That doesn't change the length, and the length is all we're worried about right now. Yeah. If you're watching this as a video, you should be trying it as well.
So. Every no mile.
Yeah, separate problem.
Fish is not gonna stop right now. I'm gonna go get a pop fish. I'm gonna go up 1 hour. Oh, blackberries are so good, man. They're so good. Oh my God. What is the congruent segment?
But did you listen to anything that I just explained?
I can't even see the board. I forgot my contact.
Yes. But you set the size of your compass. Open it, however. Okay, but so that's getting the size. You didn't need to. Now we're trying to, you have a pencil or something, right? Now, you have to get separate writing utensil. So then you're pointing someone else. That's the size, right?
Yeah.
So you just adjust it and then you come to the point or now so the little arc.
The distance.
And then you point where on it.
I decided to say.
That's the same length of. Practicing using a compass. See how you
Every math. That stays.
Right. So you should be able to create a congruent segment to a given segment. Okay, we just set the size of the radius. Maggie, do you have a question? Hang on, I'll come help you with it in a sec. Let me get everybody started on this other one. Then I'll come look at it with you. If you didn't finish all 3 of these, it's okay. You can come back to them in a little bit. But I want to go ahead and go through the instructions for the next one, which is an angle bisector. So we talked about angle bisectors last week when we did angle addition theorem. Do y'all remember that? If a ray bisects an angle, that means it cuts it in half, right? And it would be, so the angles created, like down here when you're done, these 2 smaller angles would be equal to each other and they'd be half of the original larger angle. Okay, so we've talked about what an angle bisector is, but now we're going to use our tools. Unit 1 is called Tools for Geometry. We want to be able to use geometry tools. That's what we're practicing here. So we're going to use our compass to create an angle bisector. Okay, we want to be able to cut an angle in half. So the steps are written out here. And again, I'll walk you through that, and then I'm going to do one at the bottom with you. So you set your compass to the size of, you put the point on the vertex. So you start with the point on the vertex, and then the size that you set it does not matter. Okay, I would not be super tiny because it's going to be hard to measure from, but just somewhere like along the side where when I draw an arc, okay, so when I draw an arc here, I touch both sides. Okay, so you set your size so that you can draw an arc through the whole angle that touches both sides of the angle. Okay, then at those points where it touches, you put points and name them. See, they named theirs Q and R. Okay, so they drew the arc, named the points Q and R, then they took the end of the compass, the pointed end, and put it on Q. And then they drew an arc. Okay, now notice this is a different size. That's not where it would touch, is it? So between steps 1 and 2, you are allowed to adjust the size of your compass. Okay, so you can make it a little smaller because you want it to be close to the middle of the angle out here. Doesn't have to be exact, but so they just made their radius a little bit smaller. Okay, and then they drew their arc here. That's what that little mark is. It's the arc they drew from point Q. Now, once you've drawn that, you cannot change the radius size. So don't adjust your compass, just move it to point R. Okay, that's what they're doing in this one down here. So they've put it on point R and drawn another arc that intersects that one. Okay, so you draw an arc, the same radius from point Q and point R, and then they connect that intersection point of those two arcs to the vertex of the given angle. So when you draw that ray from point P, the vertex, through that intersection, that ray is bisecting this angle. So I could put some markings on here. I could say that this angle is congruent to this angle, right? So I could say, how would I name this top acute angle, this one here? How could I name that? Q, P, W. So I could say angle Q, P, W is congruent to angle, and then this bottom one that I put the tick mark on, I could say, is that an R? Yeah, RPW or WPR. So I have bisected that angle. I could also say something to the effect of ray PW. Ray PW is an angle bisector. Because bisect means to cut in half, right? So ray PW is the angle bisector. All right, let's try it with one of these blank ones down at the bottom and make sure we've got the process down. Okay, I will do D with y'all. I'll do this obtuse angle with y'all. So I'm going to set my point of my compass on the vertex. I like to actually have a point. So I'm going to put a point there and we can name it whatever we want. I'll name it V for vertex. Okay, so I'm going to put the point at the vertex. Then I'm going to set my compass to whatever size I want as long as it will touch. But don't go out here where you're not touching the line or the ray, right? The side of the angle. I don't want to go too big. So I want a V to where I'll intersect. So I'll set mine here. Okay. And then I'm going to draw an arc all the way across the angle. So far, so good? Okay. Now I'm going to take my compass end and I'm going to, well, I'm going to name these points first. So these points where that arc intersects the sides, let's just call them A and B. Okay, so I'm going to take my compass point and put it on A. Now, you don't have to change your compass size if it's wide enough to make an arc out here. Some people like to. I'm going to do this in a different color. I'll do red from here. So from point A, I'm going to draw an arc like this. And then I'm going to move this over. To point B, and I'm not going to change the size between going from A to B. And I'm going to draw an arc. Here from point B. And I'll set my compass aside. As long as you have an intersection, the compass size doesn't matter. If you made your compass radius too small to where it wouldn't reach, then that's not going to work. You have to have an intersection of these two arcs, this red and this blue one. Okay, so you have to make sure that the radius is big enough to where those will intersect. Okay, so then I'm going to name that point of intersection. We'll just name it C. And then I'm going to use a straight edge, and I'm going to draw a ray from my vertex through that point. I'm going to put an arrow on the end because it's a vertex. Oops. So what is something you could tell me about this image? Okay, so I heard angle, remember to use your symbols, angle ABC is congruent to angle BVC. Okay, now I'm going to mark that in the picture. So I'm going to put an arc with 2 tick marks and an arc with 2 tick marks. That's what I just said right here. I'll color code that. So that's what we said in purple. What else could you tell me about this image? A ray VC is the angle bisector. That's not all we could say. That's all I said in the previous example. But technically, remember in the practice, the mixed practice y'all were doing last week, a problem that I had to answer a lot of questions about. People were confused about the statement about the image when we had angle bisectors. Wouldn't you be able to say that one of these acute angles is half of the obtuse angle? Or would you be able to say the obtuse angle is double one of those acute angles? That's what bisect means. It's cutting in half. Cutting in half is dividing by 2. So going reverse would be multiplying by 2. So you could say those statements as well. So I could say something to the effect of angle AVB, that's the original obtuse angle, is 2 times angle and then one of the acute angles. So I could say CVB. That's a true statement, isn't it? Okay. Or if I were to go in reverse, I could say that one of the acute angles, how about AVC, would be half of the original obtuse angle, AVB. Wouldn't that be true as well? So when you have an angle bisector, there's a lot of true statements or things that you could say about the image. Okay, I just want you to understand the relationship between these angles when you have bisected an angle. Okay, you don't need to write all of this for every single example here. I just want you to practice the actual construction part. Okay, so draw an arc through the entire angle that touches both sides. Okay, and then draw your 2 arcs that would intersect in the middle, and then draw the ray through that intersection. Okay, so y'all should be practicing with the other 3. C is a little tricky because it's a straight angle. My suggestion would be to put a point somewhere to be your vertex. Okay, but follow the same steps. Follow the same steps. Whether it's an acute, a right, an obtuse, or a straight angle. We have one of each here. I did the obtuse with you. You're going to try the right, the acute, and the straight angle. Give y'all a couple minutes to try some of those. If you don't get through all of them, it's okay. We'll have some time tomorrow to practice. You can come back to it. Okay, try at least one of them right now, though. and you don't change it, you do the same size. Draw that plan. Here.
I think so.
Okay, so that's one. Now what do you do? Draw an arc out there. It's out there in the middle. Size should make it smaller. Okay. Same thing. It's an intersect. Okay. So that point of the intersection. And connect that to your vertex. And that you just bisected that and cut it in half.
I have seen that's it.
Do you ask me about So yeah, on this one, because it's a straight angle, the arc is gonna a semicircle. Point there. Okay, you're gonna have to make this bigger so that it reaches the middle. So you need to adjust that to be a bigger.
Yeah.
So that's good. Draw an arc there.
No, you have to
Okay,
do
now
that.
move to the third side.
Oh, it's just like. Like whenever you're starting your
So that intersection, so wherever you put your vertex, and you move your front.
Yeah. Let me break it down.
We're gonna do the last one, guys, so we can have them all in one video here. So now flip to the perpendicular bisector page. You can come back to try those practice if you didn't finish them all. We have practice time tomorrow. Okay, I need your side conversations to stop so we can get through this quickly. Okay, creating a perpendicular bisector. The first thing you may need to add are some reminders of what these words mean. What does perpendicular mean? What type of angle? A right or a 90-degree angle? Okay, so if you want to write that above perpendicular, okay, it's an intersection of two segments or lines or ray, whatever figures, but they intersect at a 90-degree angle, okay? And then what did we say bisect meant? Cut in half, okay? So we are given a segment and we want to draw another segment or line that cuts it in half. Why? Just let me write.
Stop doing that.
Okay, so we want to draw another line through the given segment that cuts the segment in half and it forms a 90-degree angle and it's perpendicular. Okay, so the steps again are listed out, bless you, in words. Okay, so let me walk you through it real fast. Okay, so when you set your compass here, sorry, I got to put mine upside down to fit on the paper. Okay, put your end point on one of the ends, put your compass point on one of the ends, and then you want to open your compass to more than halfway down your segment. Okay, so if you need to highlight that in the instructions, more than half the length of the segment is how much you want to open your compass. More than halfway, not the full length, not half the length, but somewhere in between. So I would just shoot for 3/4. It does not have to be exact. You're estimating. You can get a visual and say, okay, that's more than halfway, right? So you set it to more than halfway down your segment. Okay, and so that's what they did here. So then they drew, okay, they had theirs on X first. It doesn't really matter which side you start from. They had theirs this way. Okay, then they drew these arcs, one above and one below at that size. and then they switched it and they came from the other end point and they did the same thing and they drew it out here. Okay, so that those arcs you have an intersection above and an intersection below your segment. Then you connect those two intersections with a line, and that is your perpendicular bisector. So the markings that we could add to this image would be a 90-degree angle marking, which they've done. We created it's perpendicular, and it is bisecting, so we could add congruence markings. We could say that these two pieces are going to be equal length. So they named their middle point there M. So I could say that XM is congruent to MY. I could say that line AB is perpendicular to, that's the symbol for perpendicular, upside down capital T, if y'all don't recall that, that's a perpendicular symbol. It's perpendicular to segment XY. We feel okay about that? All right, I'm going to walk through one of these down here, and then if you have time to try the others, great. Otherwise, you'll try them tomorrow when we're back in here. So let me do GH with y'all down here. Okay, so D. So I'm going to put my pointed end on an end point, and then I'm going to set my compass size to more than halfway. So mine's a good size right now. It's good to go. So I am going to draw an arc near the above. Okay, so keep it on G. Okay, and then I'm going to rotate this, and I'm going to draw an arc up here. Why is it not drawing? Okay, and then I'm going to do one below as well. Okay, so down here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw an arc. Now I'm going to move my compass to the other end. I'm going to change colors here. Okay, and I'm going to draw an arc here. And down here, I'm going to do the same thing. Okay, and then I'm going to move my compass out of the way. I've got these two intersection points. So I'm going to put actual points on them. And then I'm going to use my straight edge. And I'm going to draw a line through those points. Okay. You can name those points. I'm going to name them J, oops, that's a line, not a pen. I'm going to name them JK. So we know that JK is perpendicular to GH, and we could name that middle point. We could call it M. We know that GM is congruent to MH. Those are the same length. Okay. So you can try those others. If you don't have time to try all of them before the bell today, that's okay. I'll have the compasses out again tomorrow for you to practice. And we're going to do an actual practice assignment on this tomorrow. There's no assignment today. We are going to practice in class tomorrow and make sure we've got the hang of this. Okay? We'll practice some more tomorrow.